Alright, let's see. I just want to make sure that it is working. Hold on. Let me just put this, and I put it so that every person can only chat every 30 seconds. That's so that I can have the time to be able to respond. Also, I'm gonna try to go slow in here, but if I'm going too fast, if anybody's watching and I'm going a little too fast for you, please stop me and ask me a question. Okay, so, and I also don't have my camera on because, I mean, I guess I just don't want to have it on until maybe until I have enough subscribers, but I'm trying to get to 100. So thing is, I put slow mode, and so basically every time somebody says something, you have to wait at least 30 seconds before you can say something else, only because, you know, I feel like, especially for me, it's a little bit hard to catch up to everybody that is saying stuff. And I know I don't really have that many subscribers. If, I only have maybe like 59 or so, which is fine. But let's just go ahead and get started. So, what I'm gonna do, and also, I believe I put a link, or maybe I can, maybe I can edit this very quickly. Or edit the description. I'm gonna put a link to the actual exam in the description, only because I really want to, obviously I want to just, and also I'm gonna go ahead and so this is specifically for Algebra 1, if you're in Algebra 1. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Let's actually go over here. And actually, hold on, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some water very quickly, and then I will be back in like a minute or so. So give me 1 second, everybody. I will be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. I'm sorry, I was getting some water. So, I'm not gonna really go over why this Staar exam is very important, or why we even have to take it, but I'm gonna just go ahead and get started right away. Hold on. So, give me 1 second. I am going to just do something really quickly. Let's get started. So, and again, I'm sorry for the wait. It's just that I was getting some water and I was getting ready. So, but let's get started. So this first question tells us which expression is equivalent to the square root of 147, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and, so we're gonna write it down, right? And to know, it's very important to know how to simplify these. So the way I like to do it is I like to list out basically my powers, and the reason why I do that, well, basically, that's basically how we do it, because the square root is kind of, you know, if you say the square root of 9 equals 3, that's because 3 squared equals 9, right? I don't know if in Algebra 1 they teach this rule, but this is kind of why square roots and basically nth roots are very important to understand. So we're going to do this one. So I'm going to say 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, and these that we really want to do. So calculator, we can find, I don't know why it's all the way over here, but we can find what the square terms are for each number. So, for example, if I want to do, let's say 2 squared, and then there's 3 squared, right? 3 squared is 9. We all know that, right? 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, etc. But you want to do it so that you can divide by whatever the result of the squared term is. That is because you want to make sure that whatever is, whatever goes here, basically, you go ahead and you can take the square root of it. So I'll explain what I mean by that as I do this problem. So for example, I can see if 147 is divisible by 4, and it's not, it's 36.75. It has to be a whole number. And then I can say, well, is it divisible by 9? No. Is it divisible by 25? Or I'm sorry, 16? No, is it divisible by 25? No. So I keep going. 6 squared obviously is 36 because 6 times 6 is 36, right? So I can say, what about 36? Is it divisible by 36? No. What about 49? Because 7 times 7 is 49. Yeah, it is. So, for example, I can say, because I know that, and again, you can use a calculator for these. Actually, I'm sorry guys, let me go ahead and work this out on my OneNote so that it can be a little bit more, the writing can be a little more smoother. But basically what you want to do is you want to go ahead and make it so that you can make sure and actually be able to simplify the square root, right? 147, we said that 147 divided by 49 was about, I believe it said 6, right? Or 5? I'm sorry guys, hold on. Give me 1 second. It said, it said 3, I'm sorry, 3. It's 147 divided by 49 is 3, right? So here, so we can say that 147, if we do the little factor tree, right? We can say that 3 and 49 is equal to 147, and we know that the square root of 49 is 7, right? But we want to find the square root of 147. We don't want to find the square root of 49. But we can say the following. The square root of 147 can be the following. It can be the square root of 49 times 3, right? And that'll be the square root of 49 times the square root of 3. And what is the square root of 49? Well, we just said it was 7, right? 7, and then the square root of 3 is really a decimal, so we can just leave it as it is. So really, the square root of 147 is 7 square root 3. This is how you do it, right? So the answer to that first problem is B. And I'm gonna be switching from OneNote to this because obviously I don't wanna. Thing is, on here is it's kind of laggy, so I don't want to go ahead and do it on here if it's going to be laggy. But we can go ahead and keep going. So it says a drummer and a guitarist each wrote songs for their band. The guitarist wrote 8 fewer than twice the number of songs that the drummer wrote. So the thing is, fewer, the word fewer always means less. That always means less. However, notice what they give us. They don't give us an inequality. They give us an equation. So that's something that we have to keep in mind, right? And they're giving us our variables in terms of D and G. So basically, D is for drummer. G is for guitarist. And it is saying that the guitarist wrote 8 fewer songs and twice the number of songs the drummer wrote. So that means that for G, we're going to say that the guitarist, it's 8 fewer songs than twice. And let me make sure. I think it is. Yeah, it is. It is recording the screen. So 8 fewer songs and twice the number of songs the drummer wrote, right? What does that mean? That means that it's going to be 8 less songs and 2 times. So basically it's going to be, if I say, for example, 8, it was, so if I say 8, if I say that they had 8 less lollipops than 2 times the required amount or something, it's basically anytime and you're going to go with how, you're going to go in order from the number, and you're going to say 8 fewer, meaning minus 8 fewer songs than 2 times the number of songs that the drummer wrote. The drummer, that is basically D. So that's what G equals to. G is equal to 8 minus 2D. That's for the first equation. For the second equation, it says they wrote a total of 46 songs. So basically, that means that the drummer plus the guitarist wrote a total of 46 songs. Think of D and G as like the number of songs that each of both of them wrote. Like, D is the drummer, G is a guitarist. If I say that the total number of songs that the drummer and the guitarist wrote, was 46, then the equation for that would be D plus G is equal to 46. So it is very obvious that the answer here is going to be, and I believe 8 minus 2D, and then G plus D is equal to 46. Interesting, hold on. The guitarist wrote 8 fewer songs than 2 times the number. (46 minus) Oh, by the way, yeah. The way that you can actually, well, of course, D plus G is equal to 46. We already have this one, right? But what you can do is you can say, you can rearrange this so that G, so because we know that both of them wrote 46 songs, right? Together, wrote 46 songs. So that means that the guitarist wrote 46 minus the number of songs that the drummer wrote. So that's kind of why you have to kind of manipulate your variables here. So in reality, the answer would be G is equal to 8 minus 2D, and G is equal to 46 minus D. It is going to be G here. And again, I'm going to do my best in terms of these problems. I know that maybe as long as it is a good grade, it's really all that matters. It does not have to be perfect. We cannot score, I mean, if you're lucky enough, you probably can, but I cannot promise that I will score a perfect score on this exam. So just bear that in mind. So which graph best represents the solution set of y is less than or equal to negative 4x? Okay, so here's the thing. What you're going to do is you are going to, so anytime you have a number or a solution set, or rather a coordinate that satisfies the following inequality here, then that is really the solution. Now, one of the things that we must bear in mind, though, is that because, so whenever we have y is Basically, in an equation or an inequality, excuse me, when we have y is less than or equal to mx, that means that the line will be, it will be solid. It will not be dashed or dotted like it is here. So that tells me, obviously, that because this inequality here is less than or equal to, that I can automatically assume that basically this one nor this one can be the answer. Now, I know that negative 4x, if I, again, like, if you give me an inequality, or even an equation, let's say just an equation, that is of the form negative mx, obviously the line will be like this. If you give me an equation that's y is equal to a constant c, where let's say it's maybe it can be 6 or 5 or ... then the line will be horizontal. This would be a y equals c term, right? So looking at this, I have a negative 4x, meaning that, for example, if I plug in x equals 1, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. So looking right here, obviously our answer is going to be C, because there is just no, I mean, this one is going to be really a constant. Like I said, anytime you have a constant, you have a horizontal line. These two cannot be the answer, because remember I said that when it has a line under the inequality, the line will be solid. So here the answer is C, right? All right. So the graph of f of x equals x squared was transformed to create the graph of g of x equals the quantity x minus 7.5 quantity squared. Which of these describes this transformation? So the thing is, anytime you have the quantity x minus h squared, that means, and where h is greater than 0, that means that it's going to go to the right. So if I have x minus 2 squared, that means that it's going to go to the right 2 units. So that means that here it's going to be a horizontal shift to the right 7.5 units. It is going to be F, right? A set of weights includes a 4-pound barbell and 6 pairs of weight plates. Each pair of plates weighs 20 pounds. If X pairs of plates are added to the barbell, the total weight of the barbell and plates in pounds can be represented by f of x equals 20x plus 4. What is the range of the function for this situation? So, okay, let's first label what x and f of x are going to be. So x is the pair of plates, right? And so the total weight of the barbell and plates in pounds, so that's the total weight is really f of x. But we are not given the total weight in this situation. But we are given we are given, like, basically what I'm trying to say is that the total weight, so the total weight is really this. This is the total weight. The thing is that the total weight is not really like the y term. It is just saying that it's represented by this equation. And so basically it says includes a 4-pound barbell and 6 pairs of weight plates. So y is going to be how many pounds each barbell is, which, again, it says a set includes 4 pounds, and it's saying that each pair weighs 20 pounds. So, and we have 6 pairs, really. So basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is basically how many X pairs we have. So looking at this, looking at the answers we already have, obviously A can be crossed out because that is the domain. It is not the range. The range is our y term. We want to know what our y term is, or what our range is for this function, right? Being like given what we're given. So it is saying that, so it says a set of weights includes 4 pounds barbell and 6 pairs of weight plates, right? There's 1 pair, and that is and it says each pair of plates weighs 20 pounds. So basically 1 pair is 20, 2 pairs is 40, and actually, I'm wrong, hold on. Because it is 20x plus 4, if we do 20 times 1 plus 4, we're going to be given 24, and then 20 times 2 plus 4 is going to be 44. 20 times 3 plus 4, let me write this down, is 60 plus 4, which is 64. 20 times 4 plus 4 is really 84, right? And so on and so forth. So looking at this, if I go from 0, if I start at 0, and I say, okay, there's 4, f of 0 is 4, f of 1 is 24, f of 2 is 44, right? So, looking at this, the answer that makes the most sense, because in reality, if we would have started here at 0, we would have been given like 4, 24, 44. So looking at these, it is very obvious that the answer that makes the most sense is B, right? So that is your answer. Alright, the area of a rectangle is 54x to the 9th y to the 8th square yards. And let's write that down. And I say yards squared because it's square yards, so in case anybody wonders. So, or you can even, if that confuses you, because again, you can just say square yards, right? So, we know that the area of a rectangle, so let me write this down. The area of a rectangle is the base times the height. And we know that a rectangle is something like this, and we know that basically, if we kind of color code here, it's base times the heights, right? And it can either be like this and then like this, or you can also label it. So you can also do it this way, where you have the base over here and the height over here. It really doesn't matter because you're multiplying them. It doesn't matter where you arrange or where you put what you put where, basically, or where you put what. So here we know that the area of a rectangle is base times height, and it's telling us that the area of a rectangle is 54x to the 9th y to the 8th square yards. And again, so here's the thing. When they tell you base times height, this is, or rather, well, I'm saying it's base times height, but the problem is saying length times width. In reality, those are the same thing. Length times width is really the same thing as base times height. It's just in a different, it's in a different, manner, right? It's a different way of saying it. So here, the area of the rectangle is 54x to the 9th y to the 8th square yards. And it's saying that the length, so the length, if I again, I can redraw my triangle. I can redraw my triangle here, or my rectangle. Excuse me. I can redraw my rectangle, and I can say that this is base, or this is the length, and that this is the width, right? And basically, again, it's saying that the length is 6x cubed y to the 4th yards. So the length 6x cubed y to the 4th yards. And it is saying that the area, the area of the actual rectangle is 54x to the 9th y to the 8th. So what does that mean? That means that the area, again, we said was length times the width, right? Oops. Times the width. And we said that the length was 6x cubed y to the 4th square yards. And we know the area. The area, like I said, they told us the area was 54x to the 9th y to the 8th square yards, right? So how can we look at this in a more easier way? So think of it as doing very simple algebra when when they told you, well, if we have, for example, 2d is equal to 6, what is d, right? But we're not we are solving for a term here. We're solving for the width, but we're doing it very in terms of algebraic expressions. So we're not really going to be given, the very important thing that I'm trying to say is that we're not going to be given an actual number. So here, I will say that the width is going to be, so to solve for the width, you're going to have to divide both sides by 6x cubed y to the 4th. Now, the width, So like I said, the width is going to be equal to 54, and the way you can do it, you can split it up. You can say times x to the 9 times y to the 8th, like this. And then you can divide it. Notice that this is a division or a fraction symbol, right? And so the important thing here is that we have over 6, and then it's, you know, it's 6 times x cubed, and then it's times y to the 4th. Now, again, you're going to split it. What you want to do is you want to make it so that, like, for example, pretend that you're just looking at 54 over 6. What is 54 over 6? Well, that's just going to be 9, right? This is 9. What is x to the 9th over x cubed? If you remember your laws of exponents, remember that x to the a divided by x to the b is really just x to the a minus b, right? So this is x to the 9 minus 3, which is x to the 6, right? So this can be x to the 6th power. So and then if you do y to the 8th over y to the 4th, this can be really, again, you can do the same exact thing we did. This can be y to the 8 minus 4 power, which is really, and 8 minus 4 is just 4, so it's y to the 4th power. So this can be y to the 4th power. So altogether, we have a 9, we have a x to the 6, and we also have a y to the 4th. So really, this can be equal to 9x to the 6, y to the 4th. And it can be yards. Well, that is if they ask for it in yards, but in reality, they are asking for it in yards, but they're not putting it in the answer. So your answer is H. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry. I have to, I had to take a sip of water. So here's number 7, and I'm gonna go ahead and let me just do something very quickly. So hold on. Sorry about that, guys. Hold on, give me 1 second. I just want to go ahead and... Okay. So, this one says the total number of seats in an auditorium is modeled by f of x equals 2x squared minus 6x, where x represents the number of rows of seats. How many rows are there in the auditorium if it has a total of 416 seats? Okay. So, again, the total number, and this is what I really want us to understand, is the total number is modeled by an actual function. They're not, I mean, they are telling us how many total seats there are, but they're saying that because f of x is modeled by a specific kind of function, 2x squared minus 6x, and they're also saying that, you know, because the total number of seats is modeled by this function, that means that this function has to equal to 416. So really, we can rewrite that as f of x equals 416. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we can set both of these equal to each other and solve for x. So we have 2x squared minus 6x equals 416, right? And so basically we are going to go ahead and use our skills for quadratic functions, or quadratic equations. 2x squared minus I believe it was 6x equals 416. So then what you're going to do is you're going to subtract 416 on both sides, because you have to make it equal to 0. So you have 2x squared minus 6x minus 416 equals 0, right? You can divide both sides by 2 to make it easier. So then this gives us, because again, it's not going to really change our answer, it's just going to make it, we're still going to get the same answers, right? So we're going to get x squared minus 4x, and if we use the calculator, which you can use a calculator for the STAR exam, you have 416 over 2, and it's about 208 equals 0. Now, I do not know if in Algebra 1 they teach you how to solve by completing the square, but I know that they do teach you how to solve by the Xbox method. Okay, so give me 1 second, and hopefully this can work. Or rather, I mean, we can use a quadratic formula if you really wanted to, and I do believe they give you the quadratic formula for Algebra 1, because I definitely do know that people have done it using the quadratic formula when they were in Algebra 1, and it's something new that they've recently started doing, or they've already been doing for a few years, but anyways, we're gonna solve this. So actually, my bad. We have, so here, if we put a little 1 here, we have a is equal to 1, b is equal to -4, and c is equal to -208. We can color code if we wanted to, but, you know, in reality, in the STAR exam, they don't let you color code, but I will, for this tutorial, for this live stream, I will highlight what each of these are to kind of help guide you guys in terms of, you know, knowing how to do this. So let's see here. So we're gonna have, and I am going to write this down. The quadratic formula is the following: -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? It is something that, I mean, I don't think that you have to remember it for the STAR exam. I mean, at least I don't know for sure. I know that in the past they used to give it for the algebra exam, or the STAR exam for algebra, but I do not know if they still do. Let's see, do they give it? Oh yeah, they do. They give it right here, but, you know, I guess it's always good to know it, you know. So let's go back to the problem, if we, over here. So we have negative b, and it's going to be, so we know that b is negative 4, so really we can highlight that in green. That's b, and then this is also b, and then there's a, which is this one, and this one over here, and then there's c, which is basically this one right here. So, oops. So, we have, and let me actually, hold on. Give me a second, everybody. I have to connect my computer very quickly. So here we're gonna have, and we're gonna go ahead and plug it in. So x is gonna equal negative of, and we said b was negative 4, right? Remember, know why I'm doing this, because it's negative of, we said that b was negative 4, so that's why I'm putting parentheses here. Negative of negative 4, and I'm gonna say plus or minus the square root, and I'm going to put negative 4 quantity squared. Anytime you plug in a number for a variable, you always want to put parentheses, because in case it squares or in case it raises to a certain power. And then we're going to say minus 4 times 1 times negative 208 all over 2 times 1. Important that we write it all out. Because, like I said, you never know when you might make a mistake. Now, let's simplify this. We have, and again, let me just show you guys what I did. So here's b, here's our b term. This is b term, and then we also had our c term here, and we also had our a term, which was right here and right here. Okay, so that's what I did. That's in case, that's so you guys can understand how this is, and this is here. This is our actual equation, and let me just do this really quick. So this is a, and then this is our term, and then this is our term. Or actually, it would be oh, come on. Not sure why it's not. So our b term is right here. Hold on. Oh, and I'm sorry. Did I say it was, I'm so sorry. Did I say it was, I meant 3. Ugh. Negative 3. Oh my goodness. You see, you have to be very careful. So we have negative of, and negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 208 all over 2 times 1, right? So, again, this is our b term. is our b term, this is our b term, and then this is our term, and these two are a terms. So our b term again is the right here, right? So looking at this problem, we have negative, so negative of -3 is obviously, the negatives cancel out, it's just going to be 3. We have plus or minus square root. And let me just, sorry guys, give me 1 second. Okay, so this is negative of -3, so it's positive 3, and then it's plus or minus. -3 quantity squared is really just 9, because -3 times -3. And then minus 4 times -108 over 2, because 2 times 1 is 2, right? So, and we can say x equals, right? So then we have x equals 3 plus or minus, and we have the square root of 9, and it's going to be, so 4 times 208 is, it's going to be plus 832 all over 2. This will give us x is equal to 3 plus or minus square root of 832 plus 9 is really going to be, it is really going to be it's really going to be, so 941 over 2, right? Well, the square root of 941 and then all over 2. And let's see here. The square root of 941 and again, this one's, I mean, honestly, this one is a little bit tricky because in reality, so we made it equal to 416, right? And then the actual problem was, 2x squared minus 3x, or minus 6x minus 416 equals 0, and then we divided it by 2, in which we got, when we did 416 over 2, it was negative 416 over 2 was negative 208, so it was x squared minus 3x minus 108 equals 0, right? And again, I do apologize if this one's taking me forever, it's just that I'm trying to understand exactly how this one is kind of being, how they're actually kind of doing it. Because I don't know if we have to, I'm thinking we have to round, but I'm not 100% sure. So if let's say I do round, this is about 31 to the, to the nearest, how do I say it? To the nearest, whole number, it's 31, right? 3 plus 31 over 2, that's going to be about 34 over 2, which is about 17, and also 31, so basically 3 minus 31 all over 2. If I do that, it's about negative 14. So I'm gonna go with B, because that's probably the closest one to this. And, you know, obviously, yeah, I mean, it's the closest one to this function here. So I'm gonna go with B. Again, I'm only doing my best on these. I may not get every answer right, and that's okay, but as long as we get enough of them right, then that's good enough. So here it says, which dashed line is an asymptote for the graph? This is number 8. It says the graph of an exponential function is shown on the grid. And we have this graph here. And it's asking us, you know, which dashed line is an asymptote. So obviously, if, you know, a lot of people can get tricked with this one, thinking that when we have an absolute value, or I'm sorry, an exponential, that there can be a vertical asymptote right here, but that's not really how it works. If you look at e to the x, for example, or even 2 to the x, it doesn't really matter, but, you know, in reality, that anytime it goes up like this, unless it is an actual rational function where it's of the form ax plus b over cx plus d, this will go to infinity. So in reality, r cannot be an asymptote for this. And t is also not an asymptote because the graph, it only goes so low, right? It's not going to go lower than this because it can't touch. What I'm trying to say here is that just by looking at this exponential function, this graph cannot touch the x-axis. So what does that mean? That means that S is going to be our horizontal asymptote. T cannot be our horizontal asymptote because, again, it's not even approaching T. It looks like, I mean, you would think that maybe if it goes lower and lower, but again, that's not really what's happening because look at how closer and closer it gets to the x-axis as it keeps going to the left. So obviously this one, S would be our, or rather, choice H would be our answer for this. And again, R, it can't be the answer because, again, it's going to go to infinity. It's going to keep going and going and going and going and going. There's no stop to it. If I keep going, let's say let's say this is actually 2 to the x, right? Even though it's not. If I say, well, 2 to the 100,000, it's still going to be something, right? So that's what I'm saying, is that it's going to go on forever. The x values will go on forever and ever as it keeps going to the right. Okay, this one, I'm just going to take an educated guess on this because I don't think I've ever done something like this before. But basically, it says which situation best represents causation. When the number of bus stops increases, the number of car sales decreases. So okay. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I am gonna take an educated guess. And so, okay, it says, first one says the number of bus stops increases, meaning that there will be more people taking the bus. So if that happens, the number of car sales decreases. And, I mean, that can be true. It says when fewer firefighters report to a house fire, the damage caused by a fire decreases. That can also be a true thing. To be honest, I'm not sure about this one. I am going to say... I'm gonna say A, but I don't think it's right. This one I really don't know. This is kind of... I don't think I've ever done something like that before. Okay, so this one is number 10. This one says the graph of a quadratic function is shown on the grid. Now, here's the thing. Just by looking at this graph, we know that so we know two things. We know ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to y, and we also know that y is also equal to a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k, but we also know that y can also be x minus p times x minus q. These are the three formulas that we must understand, but the main one that I really want to focus on is this one here. And I'm actually going to put a here because also that it can be y is equal to a times x minus p times x minus q, right? So p and q are our X-Intercepts. So obviously our X-Intercepts are where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So our X-Intercepts are -4 and 1, right? And here, basically, we have y equals, and it's going to be a times the quantity, and it's going to be x. So it's going to be x minus, and we said that here is p0, and here is q0, right? So here, obviously, if we plot this point, we have, or if we name this point, we can name it -4, 0, right? So what does that tell us? That means that if we have, and let me write this down over here because it's a lot better. So, and I'm color coding this for a good reason. Here we have a times x minus p times x minus q, right? So we already said that p is equal to -4, so obviously p equals -4. And q is going to be equal to +1. So I only say that because, again, we have q0, this one here is 1, 0, right? You can also switch the variables. You can say that, you know, q equals -4, p equals 1. It doesn't matter, really, in this situation, because there's still going to be factors. So, really, we have x minus, and it's going to be x minus the quantity -4 times x minus 1, right? Where 1 is like, basically it is, you know, our q term. Oops. Like this. So, if we plug in an x value on the actual graph, so for example, we also know that when x equals 2, we also know that this point here is 2. So we can use those 2 points to plug in for x and y. This is really y is equal to a times x minus p times x minus q, excuse me. As of right now, we can say the following. Y is equal to a times x plus 4 times x minus 1. But then again, first of all, it wants it in ax squared plus bx plus c form. Second of all, we don't even know what a is right now, so we can't really just do FOIL method and do all of that, right? Or actually, we do know what a is, because since all of these are in terms of 1, we said that when a is less than 0, it's like this, and it's ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So that means that we're going to have negative x squared plus bx plus c. But we don't, the only ones we know are the y-intercept, or the c term, which is 4. So really, we have negative x squared plus bx plus 4, which kind of cancels out some parts, or some answers, but again, we're now in between 2 things, so that's kind of why. I mean, we know what a is equal to. A is equal to 1, but I only did it this way because, obviously, I didn't look at the answer choices before, and my bad. But here, we have, so we have y is equal to a times x plus 4 times x minus 1. So, if we do FOIL method on this, we do inner, so x times, basically, and then plus x times -1, and then plus, and then it goes 4 times x, and then it's plus 4 times -1, right? So here we have x squared minus x plus 4x minus 4, right? So then we have x squared plus 3x minus 4. And looking at the answer choices, I mean, we said that, you know, a, so basically, here's what we said. We said that, so a is equal to -1, okay? A is -1. But, again, we're going to go ahead and rewrite it, because we know that, you know, it has to be in negative x, in terms of negative x squared, but again, you know, you can always graph it with your calculator and check it, but you have, basically, you had y equals a times x plus 4 times x minus 1, and we know that a is -1 because obviously, obviously those are the x-intercepts, right? So then we have -1 times a quantity x plus 4 times x minus 1. Oops. And then we have -1 times x squared minus x plus 4x minus 4, right? So this will be -1, or rather, the -1 will distribute. Or actually, it'll be -1, and then you can combine your like terms. You can say x squared plus 3x minus 4. So this is going to be -x squared minus 3x plus 4. And yes, -x squared minus 3x plus 4, it is going to be g. Okay. Okay, so this is a linear equation, so let me write it down. (8x minus 3 times 2x minus 4 equals 3 times the quantity x minus 6. We have 8x minus 6x plus 12 equals 3x minus 18. So then we have 8x minus 6x, that's going to be 2x plus 12. And then we have, that's equal to 3x minus 18. So what you're going to do is you're going to, and if this helps, you can draw a line. And you can subtract 2x on both sides. So that way you don't have any negatives involved. Because if you do minus 3x, obviously it's going to give you a negative, and we don't like negatives here, right? At least that's, it's a lot easier that way, in my opinion. So we have 12 is equal to, and we have 3x minus 2x equals x minus 18. Right? So then we have 12 plus 18 equals x. That's going to be 10 over here, and then 1 over here. Or 0 right here, and then 1 over here, and then it's going to be 30. So x is going to equal 30. So your answer is C. Oops. Alright, a lifeguard earns $320 per week for working 40 hours plus $12 per hour worked over 40 hours. Okay, so we know that okay, so the x-axis is going to be how many hours worked. Like, basically, how many hours worked overtime, And, okay, so it's saying that per hour, we basically have, or rather, not per hour, but after working 40 hours, right? So give me 1 second, hold on. So a lifeguard earns $320 per week. He earns $320 per week for working 40 hours plus $12 per hour worked over 40 hours. So, so basically, at h equals 0, that's how much he worked when he did 40 hours. So that means that at h equals 0, the W, which W represents like the amount earned per week, right, would be at 0 hours would be, it would have to be $320. So that's something, that is because it is saying that he earns $320 per week for working 40 hours. That's something that we have to keep in mind. Oops. So that should tell us that, you know, and obviously it's saying that at 40 hours, you know, it's looking at this title here, it's saying the number of hours worked over 40 hours. When it says over 40 hours, that means more than 40 hours. So the thing is that you have to really read this very carefully. And so basically here we're going to have, you know, basically at h equals 0, we had $320, obviously. So what does that tell us about our answers? That means that this can be the answer, because at h equals 0, it's saying that he earned $0, which means that before he worked over 40 hours, he earned $0. That doesn't make any sense. It's saying that he earned $320 after working 40 hours, which means that when h equals 0, the amount of dollars earned would be 320, right? And so basically, this one can also be the answer. It cannot be the answer either, because again, he earned $320 after working, like, basically when he worked over 40 hours. He had $320 before he worked over 40 hours, right? So this can't be the answer either. So we're in between this, we're in between F and G here, right? And let's see here. I do apologize, guys. If you can hear a dog barking, please ignore it. So the thing is that we have to kind of look at this very carefully, because again, this one's a little bit tricky. Now, it says a lifeguard. So, okay, so we already know this first part. It says plus $12 per hour worked over 40 hours. So basically, it's saying that he can work a maximum of 60 hours per week. Which, I mean, in reality, that has nothing, I mean, this is weekly earnings. So neither of these exceed 60 hours, which we don't really have to pay attention to the maximum of 60 hours per week, you know. So let's see here. Let's look at this specific part here. It is saying that he already has $320 for working 40 hours, right? But it's saying that he's earning plus $12 per hour after he worked those 40 hours. So I believe, and again, not every question that I do in here is going to be correct, and if I do make a mistake, please correct me. but the equation would be something like this. Now, if I set h equal to 15, what is that going to give me? So if I do 12 times 15 plus 320, that would be about, let's see, $500, right? And let's see, I'm gonna see, actually, let me see how many questions there are in this review, or this algebra exam, because I really, really don't know. Okay, 54 questions, that's maybe... So I'm going to stop at question 27, and I'll continue tomorrow, because, again, I don't want to make the stream way too long. But I'll do as much as I can, because I know these problems, I'm taking pretty long on them only because I really want to make sure we understand it. So if I plug 15 in, I'm going to get 500. Which one of these gives me 500? It's going to be G, obviously, because right here, this is 20, 500. And that's why this is the answer. That one was a little bit tricky, I will say. That one was a little bit tricky. Okay. This one's not that bad. A shoe company is going to close one of its 2 stores and combine all of the inventory from both stores. These polynomials represent the inventory in each store. Which expression represents the combined inventory of the 2 stores? So in reality, it wants you to add these 2 polynomials. Okay, now you will have to know how to add fractions, and that is a very basic skill in algebra, or I mean in math. So we have 1/2 g squared, because the reason why I'm saying it combined inventory, obviously it's asking you to know what is the total of this. What will we come up with if we add all of this together, right? So we have 1/2 g squared plus 7/2, and then plus 3g squared minus 4/5 g plus 1/4. So then we have, it'll be, so 1/2 plus 6/2, and then minus 4/5 g, because there is no other g, right? And then it's going to be plus 7/2 plus 1/4. Now you can use your calculator. Like I said, you can use your calculator if you really want to. So 1/2 plus, so 1/2 plus 6/2. I only did it that way because, or actually, hold on. I meant 6/2 g squared. My bad. 6/2 g squared. And then we have minus 4/5 g plus 7/2. Oops. plus 1/4, right? And again, this is 6g squared. And let me just make sure. And this is 1/2 g squared, my bad. So really we have g squared over 2 plus 6g squared over 2 minus 4/5 g, or 4g over, minus 4g over 5 plus 7/2 plus 1/4. And so then we would have 7g squared over 2. And again, you can use a calculator if you really want to do this stuff, right? It's going to be 7g squared over 2 minus 4g over 5, and then we're going to just have to go ahead and add these two. So we have 7 over 2 plus 1/4. So the answer to this one is going to be A. All right. It says the graph of the quadratic function f is shown on the grid. What is the y-intercept of the graph of f? Now, this one, like I said, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the, or really, I mean, you can say in terms of y equals. But, you know, they can also, you can also say it in terms of a coordinate, but, you know, the y-intercept is really 4, because it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. So the answer is 4. Okay. Alright, so it says a particular type of cell doubles in number every hour. Which function can be used to find the number of cells present at the end of each hours if there are initially 4 of these cells? So here's the thing. It's saying that it doubles, meaning that it's going to be 2 raised to the h power, and it's saying that the initial, like, unless it said that, you know, that I mean, I don't know how this one would be said, to be honest, or this one, because these two kind of, at least to me, they don't make sense in this context. Or unless it said it was halved, then maybe it would be this one, but it can't be A because it's saying that it's being doubled. It's not saying that it's being split in half, right? So it has to be B. Yeah, that's for number 15. Alright, it says, what is the slope of the line represented by 5x minus 12y equals 24? And let me do this on here. So then, if I subtract 5x on both sides, I will get negative 12y is equal to 24 minus 5x. I'm going to solve for y, so I subtract 5x on both sides. And you always want to write it as 24 minus 5x. Don't try to write it like negative 5x plus 24, because that can be a little bit confusing. It really depends on how you see it. So I would say y is equal to 2, or rather negative 2, right? plus 5/12 x, and this can be rewritten as 5/12 x minus 2, and the slope is really whatever is in front of your x variable, so it's going to be 5/12, right? All right. Which expression is equivalent to 6x squared plus 13x plus 5? All right. So this one, is really going to be, it's really going to be, how do I say it? Like, you're going to have to use Xbox for this one. So plus 13x plus 5. Remember, this is our A term, this is our B term, this is our C term, right? A times C is 30, or rather, it's 6 times 5. This is A times C, it's on the top, basically. So this is 30x squared. And then the bottom is 13x. So two numbers that we can even list out the factors, right? The factors of 30 are 1 and 30, 2 and 15. And actually, hold on. Okay. 2 and 15, 10 and 3, or 3 and 10, excuse me. So, looking at 3 and 10, we want two numbers that multiply to 30. 3 times 10 is 30. And we want two numbers that add to 13. 3 plus 10 is 13. So we're going to put those right here. So now we are going to draw our box. What goes on the top left is whatever this is. So 6x squared goes here. And then whatever's on the left side of your x box goes over here. But you put it in terms of x, right? Put both of them in terms of x. We have 3x, and then there's on the bottom left side of the box, you're going to put whatever's on the right side of the x box, and that's going to be 10x. And then on the last part of the box, you're going to put whatever c is equal to. So c here is going to be equal to 5, right? So then we have 3x times 2x, and then, because that's 6x squared, you want two numbers that multiply to 6x squared, that's going to be 3x times 2x. And then we have 3x times something is 3x, so that the only number I can think of is really just 1. 2x times something will give me 10x. That's going to be 2x times 5, right? So really, always kind of think of there being a multiplication right here, right? That will help. Or you can put a little dot to say, or you can put like that, you can say multiplication, right? So these are the two factors that we have here. So really, this factors to 2x plus 1 times 3x plus 5. And okay, well, I believe that's because this test is kind of it's very long, okay? I will go over it again tomorrow. I do not want to stream for way too long because I feel like I've already been streaming for 1 hour and 35 minutes. So if anybody has any questions whatsoever, and I may just like retitle this to the actual what is it called? Like, make sure I put 2017 version here. Because, I mean, even though I know that, like, you may or may not look at the description, but, yeah, with that being said, guys, I will continue with this again tomorrow. The only reason why I'm kind of stopping it a little early is because I've already been streaming for about an hour, and yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail as to why, but I don't want to make the video way too long, basically. So with that being said, if anybody has any questions, if you have any requests, if you have any concerns, or like you're having any math questions, please do look at the description down below. I have a Reddit where you can post questions or you can ask questions, and I will do my best to respond there, and I will also do my best to respond to any requests that anybody asks me. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please ask me down below. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.